and welcome. Joining me today is John Baldino, and he's here to share his inspiring spiritual life, which includes literally carrying the cross. He's going to talk about his spiritual journey today on Spiritual Invitation. Now, John is a retired school teacher and has been married to his high school sweetheart for 63 years. They have 9 children. He's the 10th. 30 grandchildren and 8 great-grandchildren. He's also the author of Faith Captured Through Poetry. John, welcome.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be here.
Your abundant family life is inspiring enough. I mean,
oh, yes, that's true.
Wonderful for you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's
yes.
terrific. Wow.
A wonderful family.
Yeah, you do. That's terrific. So let's dig right in. Let's talk about your spiritual journey. When did it begin for you?
Well, I would say around 50 years old. It was late in my view of spirituality, and it was then I decided, where am I going? What am I doing? What's happening here? I couldn't decide. I was lost in that, and I just couldn't find myself, who I am and what I am. And then suddenly something happened. I had a dream, and the dream was interesting. I was walking in this dream, and suddenly a voice said to me, come walk with me. And I said, walk with you? And I began walking, and I walked towards just walking. And I suddenly hit a fork in the road. And the fork in the road, on one side it says, the world way, and the other side said the spirit way. And the voice then said to me, Johnny, you got to choose. And I said, who are you? What is it that I have to choose? And he says, who you are. You have to decide who you are, and then you choose. And who you are, what are you? And I says, I don't know. I am me because my choices make me me, and that's who I am. And the voice said, are you what the world told you to be? Are you what it's designed you to be, like the world? Or are you pretending who you are? And what is that pretense? Are you only showing them who you think you are when you should be deciding who you are?
Truth. And
I said, wow. I said, no, I thought I would choose myself, but it gave me thought. And I said, well, why am I here? And he said, when you find who you are, okay, you'll know why you're here. And then suddenly I woke up into reality.
Wow.
And when I woke up into reality, I began to think in different aspects of meditation and contemplation. And during meditation time, I began to think, and I'm saying, maybe it's true. Maybe I have to find myself first to discover what it is I have to do. And discovering myself was required a little thought on my part. And I said, how do I discover myself? How do I unravel myself? If I'm a pretense all of my life, what am I now? And I can't do that now, because now I have to be open and sincere with myself. And so I thought about it, and I said, the only way I can do that is to surrender myself, to open myself totally and completely. And
surrendering yourself to, what to spirit, do you mean?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
No, I had to, something had to happen.
Right.
And the moment I emptied myself, surrendered myself, there was almost like a light coming into me. And I know nature abhors a vacuum, but all of a sudden a light came into me. And suddenly I was awoken by this light. And I realized then it was the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, that entered me. And when the Holy Spirit entered me, I suddenly felt different. I felt different in the idea that I became part of him, he became part of me. We became one in union. And in that oneness made me open to all of his creation. And when it opened me up in that way, it suddenly said, John, think about this. And it opened a world of discovery.
Oh, that's really something. I mean, it almost sounds like a partnership, you know, in a way. You know, that when you're awakened and realizing you were joining with the Holy Spirit.
Sure, because I think that's when my spirituality began to grow, because it began to grow more in a devotional spirituality, a devotion of a relationship. When it said, "Come walk with me," it was my relationship with the Holy Spirit to become one with the Holy Spirit. And again, it just opened doors for me of discovery that I never had before.
And you had mentioned to me earlier, was this you had a Big Bang moment? Was
Yes,
this your Big Bang moment?
The discovery was the Big Bang moment, because I'll tell you why it was a big discovery for me. One is because I began to see things I never saw before. I began to hear things I never heard before.
Like what?
I began to feel things I never felt before. My mode of perception changed. I began to, maybe it's a sixth sense, an intuitive type of development in me, in a relationship of not only my relationship to Christ, but a relationship to people. To open up and be not afraid. But it not only opened me up in that respect, it opened me up because I was no longer handicapped to be afraid to express who I am, my own spiritual development. I began to develop a direction that I never knew before. And the direction I never knew before was I did things I never did before.
Can you just give one little example?
Sure. Walking the cross.
Okay, so we're going to get to that.
Was a part of it. Writing a poem was never in my dreams or never in an action that I would perform. You see, because the Spirit gave me a strength I never had before.
And a freedom, isn't it? Like it sounds like it just
Completely.
opened a door you didn't even know was closed.
You got it.
Yeah.
It was, when I said a Big Bang, it opened a door of discovery.
Huge, yeah.
And I didn't know existed before. But not only that, it touched me because being part of who I am, having free will, having intelligence, having love, I knew then I had to discover for myself who I am. And I had the freedom to do that.
And you were able to do that.
Not governed by a world that says this is what you are to do. So my choices were free for me.
Right.
Strengthened by the Holy Spirit.
Right.
It just,
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it is a wow, and it is a Big Bang
Yes.
moment. I mean, awakenings are incredible. Spiritual awakenings are.
Unbelievable.
And
if I were to say that to someone, see, I would never. This is an example here today that I have the courage to do that and not afraid to do that.
well, I know what you mean, because I'm sitting over here asking the questions, and people that knew me 10 years ago can't believe this is me sitting here doing the questions. But when you do open yourself up, when you do have those awakenings, it's incredible.
Yeah, you're not afraid.
You're not afraid at all.
You know, and so
No.
I feel comfortable because what I say is from my heart. So I don't need to prove to anyone or anything or anyone. The only proof I have to show is to myself and to my my spirit, my God.
Now listen, we're going to jump. We usually reserve this question for the end, but I think it's good to bring it up now. How do you define spirituality?
I found that my spirituality is a devotional spirituality, that relationship. And so I kind of defined it as sort of that spirituality is the harmonious union of my spirit, my soul, with my body and my heart, carrying out what is pleasing to God through Jesus Christ with the help of the Holy Spirit in me. That's why I'm saying it's a devotional type of thing. It's a growing thing. And I have found that spirituality is not instant all of a sudden, but it's a maturity. It's a growing process. Since I never experienced, I don't know it, but what I do experience is the fact that it's a gradual process. I've changed a little bit at a time.
Right.
So I changed from my 50 to my 80. But in that period of time, I'm not a John that I was at one point to a John at another point. And
so you evolve.
yes.
Yes, you keep evolving. Which
Is it
beautiful.
a transformation, a transfiguration? I don't know. I've never experienced it before. But see, I feel comfortable in expressing it to you, and I'm expressing it to people I don't even know.
Right, exactly. No.
You see? And
Right.
I can't tell them what to think and how to think.
No.
But I respect them because they have intelligence and they have free will, so they can interpret in whatever they want.
Right.
But I don't have to prove anything to them.
No, and I do know what you mean, because that's really one of the points of the show anyways, is to just share with people different spiritual journeys, because no two are ever the same. And that's what we find on this show, is that it happens to different people at different ages, at different times in their life, for different reasons. And it's wonderful, and I appreciate it when people come on and share, what spirituality means to them. And that gives the viewer the opportunity to just decide, I wonder what spirituality means to me. All right, so I want to talk about, this is fascinating, walking the cross. You literally carry the cross. And Rob, can you just show a picture of that for a minute? This is John. Now, where is this? And that's you on the side of the road. You're in a yellow jacket.
Yes, that's on Route 17, Middletown Avenue. And
that's in where? In Northford? Or?
North Brantford.
North Brantford.
Well,
okay.
Northford section.
Northford section.
17.
Okay.
And I walked that distance for, maybe 18, 19 years. I've been doing it.
So you've been doing this for 18 or 19 years.
Yes.
And when do you do it?
I do it during Lent, but it's the genesis, the truth of that is, why did it begin? How did it begin? It began out of 9/11.
Oh, really?
And 9/11 was a great deal of sadness and sorrow and hurt. And I felt that somehow I had to do something to change that. And I thought about it, but I said, what can I possibly do? And I selected the cross. But I didn't select the cross per se, but I felt comfortable with the cross. But during that period of time, what happened was a steel beam fell into the ground, and it was a cross.
Oh, I remember that picture. Yeah, at 9/11, you mean?
Yes,
right? Yeah,
9/11.
That was incredible. Okay, thanks, Rob.
And it was a sign for me.
Right.
Well, I picked it up as a sign.
Right.
And I picked up the cross as a sign. Because you see, for me, it was symbolic. But I never expressed it.
Right.
I only showed it. See,
it was an incredible.
It was,
It was incredible picture, message,
Unbelievable.
sign,
Unbelievable.
something. It was incredible. Yeah.
So combined with my view of the cross, and number two, seeing the picture, and number three, around the corner was the season of Lent. So I fused them together. And I said, I'm going to use the cross as a symbolic means to express this. Why the cross? Because the cross is symbolic of Christ. And there was no one that suffered greater than Christ. He suffered physically, intellectually, emotionally, socially, spiritually. And I said, if anyone has to go and know out suffering, is Jesus Christ. And if Christ knows suffering, then I'm saying to the people, maybe you should go to him spiritually. Send out forth your suffering, your sorrow, and find comfort through him. So the cross became more of a Socratic gadfly, a sting to get people to think in a spiritual vein. And like I said, it's a symbolic meaning. It's symbolic, but
Sure.
it's you had to do it. You see, it wasn't my meaning. I had a meaning for it. Now I'm telling you, it's in words. But before that, I never used the words. I
Okay.
just used the cross.
Just use the cross.
Symbolic.
All right. And how far do you walk?
I walk anywhere from 3.3 miles
And you do it.
every day
You do it every day for
Lent.
For
which
during
is
Lent.
For 40 some odd days, up to starting on Wednesday, Ash Wednesday,
Okay.
until Saturday before Easter. I walk the time.
So let's start with what are the results have been in terms of feedback that you've gotten from people, or has anybody gotten back to you about it? Do people stop? Do people, what?
Yes, I had a. Yes, there are different responses. Usually tooting a horn. And to be honest with you, and I can't lie, that I got various types of fingers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Interesting
I-
reaction.
Yes, and I had a person that says, "Who do you think you're, Jesus Christ?" And it was funny because my wife asked me, "Were you upset with that?" I said, "No, I'm not. I wasn't upset with that." She said, "Well, why weren't you upset with that?" And I said, "Because number one is that he has to express himself." And that's fine because we're all different. But the second thing, the good news to that's bad news. The good news is that at least he associated the cross with Jesus Christ.
Right. And you never know what's going through his mind later.
And it's...
What touched him. Like you see the initial response, but you don't know what's coming about it.
Not.
Yeah, you don't
because
know.
I respect him, and that's his view. I don't know what he's going to interpret, but that's his interpretation. And some stop, and in the beginning, I began to reflect on his stopping, and some people I gave little crosses to. Some people I gave a cross button to. Some people I even guided them to go to their own minister or to their own rabbi or a priest and saying, go to them, share that.
Sure.
And if you didn't feel comfortable through God, then go somewhere else.
Of course.
But
Right.
and so yes, I had different reactions to it. A lot of horn blowing, yes. I remember one guy saying, "Well, that should be in the ground." I said, "It was in the ground. I'm just carrying it for now."
Right.
But you see, and I did tell my children, I have to be honest with you, that I did tell my children and my grandchildren, I didn't want them to protect me. I didn't want them to get into fights with people coming with you. You just tell them your poppy's doing it, and that's fine.
Right.
But that's his spiritual way.
Right.
And I didn't want it to become a negative view.
No.
Because that becomes more protective. I
Right.
got to defend it, and
Right.
I don't want to
And you
defend
didn't
it.
want that. No.
No, it's my spiritual growth.
Right.
What
This
you
is
said.
what I'm doing.
I share because I care.
Right.
And that's what I did. So I've been doing it.
Have they gotten any negative flack? Your children or grandchildren?
No.
Nothing. Okay,
No.
that's
As a matter
good.
of fact, they got positive
That's nice.
responses in their schools because the bus drivers would ride by, the kids would wave to me. Yeah, it was a positive response in many ways.
Sure.
So I began to grow. This is an outcome of that.
Your book now.
book.
You've written this
Sure.
book,
All
and
outcomes.
it's titled Faith Captured Through Poetry.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating about this is that it's not for sale. You give it away. So I've got my copy there, and tell us about this. So this came about as part of your spiritual journey to write this book on poetry.
Yeah.
And why it is you give it away.
I wrote it because I really wanted to share with people my feelings towards the cross, my feelings towards Christ, because as I mentioned that I'm a Christian, I have Christ in it. I'm spiritual because I have the Spirit in me. So it became a very strong part of me. So I wanted to express it. See, most of the walking for 18, 19 years has been I walk the talk. But this is the first time I'm talking the walk. So I'm showing you
That's nice.
an inside of me that I would never show before. Because I felt spiritually my relationship had to be personal. But now I'm not afraid to open that up. And this book is just a step of my discovery and my strength and feeling comfortable with myself. See, I don't have to defend that. I'm defending what I believe and saying and sharing with it. Because my faith is saying that I don't live by one aspect, I live by my words. And my words are what I project out. So I'm raw to you in this.
Yeah,
I'm exposing.
I imagine you do. I mean, it sounds very intimate. It sounds very sacred. You know, to reveal of oneself, it does take.
Sure.
It does take courage. It does take faith, and so I can imagine what an expression. But to be able to be at that point where it's just what I need to do. I can't worry about people's reactions or opinions.
You read it, interpret, I respect you. See, what's implied in that, what I'm implying in that is saying, I respect you, your intelligence. I respect your free choice. I'm saying to you, read it, think about it, talk about it, share it. But I'm not telling you to believe what I believe.
No.
Do you understand
I
that?
do, because that's what spirituality is. I mean,
Sure.
we can't tell people how to be spiritual.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, I don't want you to believe what I believe. I'm me, so you believe what you want to believe.
Exactly.
And if I can take parts of the book, if I can take some of the book, and if you take none of the book, okay, you put it down. You take none of the book. It's just
Sure.
Right.
Remember I said in my story, I said, a voice told me, come walk with me?
Yes.
I use that in the beginning. I say, vade me come. It's a Latin word which means come and walk with me. And it says walking with me is sharing with me and talking. It's like you and I going and walking in a park and sharing a thought.
Right.
You and I are sitting down here talking and sharing a relationship. You're not forcing me to do this, and you're not telling me what to say and how to say it. It's just, John, be open.
Right. Be you. Right.
Be
Yes.
the heart which you are,
Right.
and that's what it is.
Right. And thank you for sharing.
Yes.
We're starting to get towards the end.
Are we?
Yeah,
Wow,
I
you're
know.
right.
This is great. And so, do you have a little something you want to read for us out of your,
Well, in the latter part of the book, it talks about the Holy Spirit entering in you. But my wife says, Carla, she says, John, you have to give spiritual kisses. And spiritual kisses means keep it short and simple, expressing the Spirit.
Okay.
So I'm going to keep it short and simple.
Okay.
And what I'm
Thank
saying
you.
is that the Spirit in you will grow when love, hope, and trust in you flow. And these special gifts the Holy Spirit will bestow, and your heart will flame, and it will glow. And it says, knowledge, understanding, wisdom are all spiritually shown, and it becomes part of you. And that part will flow from your heart. And that's what it is. It has to be a humble heart to give out the spiritual in you. So I think that's short enough, isn't it?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yes,
That's really beautiful.
that's
Thank you. Thank you.
But I don't know.
Yeah, well, listen, I'm so glad we had you on. This is so great, really.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
sharing, because I know what a big deal it is to reveal of oneself so deeply personal, and that's our relationship with God and with Spirit. It's just deeply personal.
Yeah, and if a person wants that, I'll give it to them. If they see me walking on 17,
Please
they
stop.
can pull over to the side and I'll give them one.
Yeah.
They can meet me in the center and I'll give them one.
All right, all right.
So it was given to me freely, and I'm giving it now freely.
That is a beautiful gift. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Carla.
All right, so if you would like a copy of the book, just get in touch with me on my website, and I'll be happy to direct you to John's contact information. I want to thank you so much for watching today. If you'd like to watch the program again, you can get on my website at carlaaugustin.com, or you can go on YouTube, and also feel free to sign up on YouTube, and then you'll never miss an episode. Again, thank you so much for watching. This has been Spiritual Invitation. I'm your host, Carla Augustin, inviting you to explore spirituality.